Hi, my name's Amy Herman, and I never have a clue what to say next. It's not that I don't have a title, because arguably I have too many. I simply don't identify myself as my job. When I meet new people, I have to choose between 3 business cards, 4 job titles, and 5 email addresses. I'm an artist, a photographer, a teacher at CPCC, I own a small business called Vintage Charlotte, and I'm a cat lady. All of these things accurately describe a single facet of myself, but I don't think they fully encompass who I am. Now, I don't want you to think that this is the first time I've ever thought about identity, because I'm basically thinking about identity 100% of the time. I think about my identity, I think about your identity, I think about our collective identity. I wrote my thesis on postmodern identity, and even my artwork is about identity. Here's a photograph that I took called Martinis with Dad, in which I'm exploring how identity and relationships shift as family members age. Recently, I've been hearing more and more about this new identity term on social media, so naturally I was curious. I just had to know what all these millennials were that everybody was talking about. So I started my research on Google, of course. So here I am typing millennial into the search bar, which I managed to spell wrong, and thank you for Google for fixing that for me. Oh good, there's a Wikipedia article. Well, let's see. Born from 1980 to the early 2000s? Yeah, that's me. And I'll just spare you the rest of the details. This Wikipedia article is pretty long. But this quiz, how millennial are you? Now that's fun. Let's see. This quiz asks me about TV, video games, social media, religion, whether my parents are still married, do I have a tattoo, describe my political views. And it mashes that all together, and it tells me that I am 95% millennial. So I must really know what I'm talking about. But as it turns out, the rest of the world doesn't think being a millennial is such a good thing. We've been referred to as the Peter Pan generation. We never want to grow up, and we still live with or off our parents. We aren't contributing members of society, and we don't work hard, and we want instant fame and recognition. And we want to travel the world, but we also want awesome jobs. And boy, do we just love technology and social media. I get it, we're young. But I have to admit, I value most of those things I just mentioned. I do love social media, and I don't want to grow up, but really, who does? However, I don't live with or off my parents. Please feel free to ask my mom, she's in the audience. And I do think that I'm a contributing member of society. Not only do I think millennials are contributing to society, I think we're challenging it and trying to change it. So I'd like to switch gears a little bit and explain how being a millennial right here in Charlotte led me to starting my own business. I've always searched for ways to make a little extra money using my creativity. When I was 18, I started selling vintage clothing online, but it wasn't until I moved to Chicago for grad school that I became aware of this whole creative community of people selling both vintage and handmade goods, wait for it, in person. Yeah, I know, it's a novel idea. But somewhere between Walmart and the internet, I think we kind of lost how important community really is. I became ingrained in this community of artists and artisans, and we would talk in person about our ideas and aspirations. It was such a wonderful and supportive group to be a part of. Skip ahead 3 years later, when I moved to Charlotte seeking warmer weather, I searched for a place to sell my goods, and more importantly, to feel that I belonged, that I could meet fellow Charlotteans with similar interests. Well, as it turned out, there wasn't really a place like this. I decided to take a leap and create one myself. It would seem that many others felt that it was equally important to belong to a creative community, because in the just 2.5 years that my business, Vintage Charlotte, has existed, it has grown exponentially. Vintage Charlotte presents itself as a pop-up market 3 times yearly. Pop-up market essentially meaning that we occupy an otherwise empty space for a very temporary period of time. Vintage Charlotte has grown from just 17 vendors in a tiny space to over 60 vendors popping up at the Fillmore Charlotte. The main goals of Vintage Charlotte are to promote and encourage a creative community as well as to support a sustainable local economy by giving consumers in Charlotte direct access to small businesses. Because I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video must be worth more, I'd like to play you this short video that one of my vendors made for me at the last summer market. So I hope that video helped you get a sense for how energetic each one of the Vintage Charlotte markets are. But now what I'd really like to do is get back to that whole millennial thing, so stick with me for a second. Almost 75% of the vendors at the last Vintage Charlotte event had at least one other job, from graphic designer to engineer. These are creatives who would rather try to grow their own small business than stick to their normal 9-to-5s. There's a true entrepreneurial spirit here. The Vintage Charlotte markets bring in upwards of 2,500 customers in a single day, but we have almost zero paid advertising. We count on the social media of each and every one of our vendors to attract our customer base. We work together to make sure our message is heard. So I know you must all be thinking that Vintage Charlotte is completely made up of millennials. But here's the thing. This term millennial is meant to define the generation that was born between 1980 and 2000, and my vendors range in age from about 20 years old to about 70 years old. So I guess, in the end, all of these traits that define being a millennial aren't all that new. Perhaps the reason that we're all suddenly talking about it is simply because our generation is more accepting and possibly even more embracing of this lifestyle choice. I hope that you'll come see all the vendors in action at the Vintage Charlotte Winter Market. Pizza Cat has the details. If you're looking for the photo that I Instagrammed while you guys were watching my video, you can follow me at VTGCLT. And maybe next time I introduce myself, I'll just say, hi, I'm Amy Herman, and I'm a millennial.